I think that's another important part of business, whether you're running it in your RV or not, is to admit when you're in over your head and you need to show the attention to the things that you know that are working.
Welcome to the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, the weekly show for nomads, work campers, RVers, and entrepreneurs looking to earn a living or build a business while enjoying the RV lifestyle. This week's host is Glenn Willard. Let's settle in and enjoy the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, brought to you by RV Life.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the RV Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Glenn Willard, your host this week, and today I have the honor of speaking with Lucinda and Will of Direction Wide Open. Lucinda is a freelance travel writer, and Will is a full-stack computer programmer. They have been full-time RVers since 2019, and together they keep busy hosting RV events and rallies around the country, publishing articles for RV and motorcycle blogs, as well as several books on Amazon. But before we explore their journey, here's a quick word from our sponsor.
This episode is made possible by Travelify. Want reliable internet without the hassle? Meet Travelify. It's portable, high-speed Wi-Fi that's ready to go wherever you are. From road trips to remote cabins. No tricky setup or permanent location required. Just plug in and you're connected. And here's the best part. No contracts, no commitments, and no reactivation fees. Pay only for the months you need. Travelify connects to the strongest available signal among multiple major networks, so you stay online with confidence, backed by a US-based support team that knows the outdoor lifestyle. Travelify, simplifying internet while you travel. Visit travelify.com today. That's TRAVLFI.com. Listeners can save 15% with code RVE at checkout.
Will and Lucinda, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to talk to you guys.
We're excited too. Looking forward to this.
Absolutely. And, you know, before I settle the microscope on your life, take me through sort of your transition of how you got started, because I believe you started in 2019 full-timing. What was that transition like, and what drove you that direction?
We were sitting there at the house watching a show. I just reached out, paused it, and I looked over and I said, "Do you want to sell the house and buy an RV?" And she said, "Absolutely." And 3 months later, we lived in an RV and the house was up for sale. And so that's
amazing.
What our full-time life has been.
It's a similar story to a lot of people, but we've had the background of living in small spaces because we did contract work around the U.S. And also we have been traveling all the time. I owned a travel agency before we got into this and things like that. So
we're used to working together in small spaces.
You're well conditioned for this transition. I think it's brilliant that it took you 3 months to go from, 0 to 60 and full tilt.
Well, we definitely took advantage of other people's information online. We were, from the time we got up in the morning and all throughout the weekends, we pretty much were doing nothing but reading and watching people's YouTube videos and getting recommendations. And at the same time, I'm a researcher, so I'm sitting there planning. I have spreadsheets in front of me outlining, what this RV has and what's the positive and negatives of it and which direction do we want to go. And we're still in the same RV after 5 years, and we still may feel like we made a good decision on this one. So that turned out well.
Brilliant. I congratulate you for not suffering from the analysis through paralysis through analysis of just looking and looking and researching. You pulled the trigger. You went for it. Good for you. And you mentioned the travel agency. You owned a working travel agency?
Yes. I actually ran it for about
15 years.
15 years. Actually, our original plans when we transitioned into the rig, Will had a full-time computer job that he was going to do on the road. And I was going to continue my business. Part of what I was doing was I was going in and meeting with corporations and setting up travel programs for their employees. So that was my intention, was to continue doing that when we got in the rig. But once we were in there and we were just getting ready to get started on all that, COVID came our way, and there was no opportunity for me to be able to set up those meetings with corporations in any way. So
I see. Well, I mean, that was a brilliant approach, going straight to the corporations versus, selling to individuals. But man, talk about timing and have that wiped out. So you obviously pivoted from that. Did you continue working within that industry?
I did for a while, and I was selling just individual and group cruises. That cruising is what I really focused on. At the same time, though, I had been writing for a motorcycle magazine, and that drew attention in the motorcycle industry. And they were having the international motorcycle shows run by Progressive across the United States. And so we got drawn into that. So we were traveling across the United States. I was writing articles, and we were doing public speaking on that. And during that process, they also had us bring our rig in because part of our stick there was talking about how to RV with motorcycles.
And in addition, Progressive, as the title sponsor for the IMS motorcycle shows, they're always pushing home, auto, RV, motorcycle, boat, trailer, all that kind of thing. So, it made a good match that we could handle both. We had a truck, we have a fifth wheel toy hauler, we have motorcycles. So that made a lot of insurable products. And so what we did is we would pull right into the fairgrounds or whatever location it was, because all the shows were now outside because of the pandemic. And we would stay. And I'm like, look, we live here. This is our home. So we were the only ones in a fairgrounds overnight, looking at all the other vendor tents, an occasional security guy on a golf cart. But we were focusing on that. And what we did is we set everything up so people could look at the rig, look at how we tied down the bikes. In addition, we were giving like little talks about, how we haul, how we live, how do we do it, how do we work on the road. And, it was a lot of fun, and we really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about, killing so many birds with one stone with Progressive. That was a brilliant move, and right place, right time. Do you still do any work with them?
Well, actually, the show that they were doing, that was last year they did it because they had a lot of transitions doing. Otherwise, I think we might have winded up, following them and doing that for a few years. But one of the reasons we wound up in that arena, I know one of the questions for people is, how do you do the travel writing and how do you get into that? Pretty much what I started doing was just writing because I love to do it. And that transition from the travel agency, because I was already writing little articles for travel agent magazines on tips on things that I was doing in the travel industry. So it just sort of translated into the RV lifestyle. And it's a big part for Will and I to do education.
Well, part of that too was when, the magazine she was writing for, a motorcycle magazine, when we told them what we were doing, they said, hey, why don't we run like an 8-part series on what it is to be RVing with motorcycles? So for the next 2 years, we had a regular, thing in their magazine. And that writing, I think, is what got her more attention, because she does all the writing. I do all the proofreading. And we talk about ideas and stuff, but, her having done all these writing things led her into writing for so many other people like RV Life, Escapees, Harvest Host. A lot of those outlets need authors writing real articles. And so we pitch them or they pitch us, and, and then we submit articles. And she's got, if you look at our website, directionwideopen.com or dwo.net, our media page has a list of almost every article that we've either published or, linked to, or whatever it is that we've been involved with. In addition, of course, the books that we've written.
Sure. I'm glad you mentioned that media page, because I went through that initially. I was like, whoa, this is a lot. And then I started clicking on everything. And Lucinda, you have written so many great articles. I've gone through some of the articles and zeroed in on a few. And you have like the same, outlook that I do as far as like how much weight can you put in your RV? Have you considered that before you buy that 100-pound Blue Eddy battery? And it's absolutely brilliant. I was so excited to read them. Like, wow, someone else who thinks just like I do on this one. So that media page, let's zoom in on that. I want to know, how much does that, because you're basically using it as a press kit. How much does that help you land more work?
Um, Well, for example, it's helped us. I got a new client to write for. They saw the writing, and then they went and checked out my media page, and they contacted me via LinkedIn, because I also have a professional profile on there. And so it got me a new permanent writing gig. So I have, like a handful of regulars that I do all the time. And then I have new people that touch base because they just want a one-off, focused article.
Well, there's another aspect to that media page too, and that is we have been getting approached by vendors who are interested in product reviews. It's funny you mentioned a Blue Eddy battery. There's more than just Blue Eddy. There's a lot of companies out there, and we've been reviewing batteries lately, but we also move into other products, and that having those reviews available there, and that's why we label some of them as product reviews, so that people that are looking for product reviews can say, oh yeah, they do that. Let's approach them about writing for this particular thing.
That's what we really, it goes back every time for us. Is one of the things we love doing is sharing information and just helping people be full time if they want to, or even if they're just a weekend warrior, helping people do that. And so education is really a central part of everything that we do. And hopefully people can see that through the words and the information and everything that we're putting out there. So
for sure. When you sort of zoom back out and you look at the entrepreneurial aspect of what you guys do, it really does seem like you're providing information and very valuable education for consumers and anyone interested in this lifestyle, especially when you marry motorcycles and RVs. Would you say that's correct?
yes, it's a very specialized area, but we never go to a campground that there's not another RV in the campground, one or two other ones that have a motorcycle with them. So,
oh, how true is that? Yes.
And we've actually approached some of the people that we write for that really hadn't thought about motorcycle aspect stuff and said, hey, this is the case. We see motorcycles all the time. How would you like to talk a little bit about motorcycling with RVing? Because that's what we do. And, I won't say we're experts on it, but we certainly have a good knowledge base with which to take, whatever the slant is for the article, we can make that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Back up to you're right. There are motorcycles almost every campground that you run into, and how friendly is the motorcycle community? And wouldn't you say that the RV community and the motorcycle community are so similar? Because you've got the motorcycle wave, you've got the I'm going to pull over and help you when there's an issue. It's amazing how similar they are, and I don't think a lot of people know that.
They really are. I mean, it's all about helping each other, asking questions. You can feel free to walk up to a motorcyclist somewhere. Just the other day, we rode up to a dealership and we were going in to get some supplies, and we didn't even get in the front door. Several people came over. We started talking, and they were like, your license plates are from Texas. You're a long ways away. Oh no, we RV full time. They're like, really? We've always wanted to do that. And then we have like a full-on RV motorcycle conversation everywhere we go. So,
and you have instant friends.
Yes,
absolutely. Yes. I'm gonna sort of take a risk and make an assumption about what being an entrepreneur means to you, and I bet it is not so much for income, but the ability to ride your motorcycle and go where you want when you want. Am I correct?
That is correct.
In fact, not only are you correct, but that's one of the real advantages that we find being independent contractors for various outlets is that we might plan a ride, and then we watch the weather constantly, of course, not just as RVers, but as, riders. Mm-hmm. And we may go, wait a minute, it's raining out there. It wasn't supposed to rain. Well, it's raining now. You know what? We'll work today and we'll go ride tomorrow. So having the ultimate flexibility in our schedule is a huge, huge aspect to what we do and how we do it.
Yeah, for this combination, RV and motorcycle, it's the perfect marriage. So,
isn't it? And it's almost something that you don't need to retire from, right?
No, we have no plans of retiring from either.
No, one of the things that we had to do as people who basically sit at a computer for all of our work. I mean, she's writing, I'm programming. Was how we had to change the rig to make that work. We have a toy hauler RV, and when we started out, of course, we had, we used the garage, the set up the table, etc. However, we found very quickly, like within the first 2 days, we realized this isn't going to work because we will always have to unload the bikes to work. If we're at a harvest host for the night, it doesn't matter. We have to unload the bike so we can get to the computers, lower the stuff. And we really didn't like it. In addition, our RV, the way it was set up, our TV was pretty much, you had to crank your head completely to the left to watch the TV. And it really didn't work. So we have a big slide that had a 5-person sofa. Well, we took that 5-person sofa out and instead put in a double desk. Yeah. So, we're sitting close together, but typically for this interview, but normally she's sitting 2 feet from me on her side of the 2-sided desk. And of course, a power strip back there to power the monitors and laptops. And then, of course, continually improving the internet connectivity stack, with redundancy, routers, et cetera, upgrading our internal storage. I mean, all those things are part of what it means for us to be on the road because we take tons of pictures. She's writing an article, needs a picture. I'm like, well, hey, I took some pictures of some fall leaves falling out of a tree the other day, and we label everything, and then she can get to them for an article and find them.
Beautiful. I'm glad you're using your own photos. Thank you. That helps everything.
Always.
We do when we can. Yes. I mean, and sometimes the outlet for the article wants to choose the photos and the videos, but when we have them available, we always supply them.
Beautiful. How often does that happen when you're writing for a magazine or a different blog? How often do they tell you that they prefer selecting photographs?
Usually not very often at all. So it just depends on the arrangement I make with them. Some, like for smaller businesses, I have a different rate if I just write an article versus an article where I pull firsthand experience photos and everything. But it's also complicated because our main thing is about educating. And so we're wanting to share a story. And so it's easier if we can supply our own photos because we're showing somebody a step-by-step process, or this is how it worked out, and this is the end product. And so it's easier if we can supply our own photos usually.
And there was an article that they asked us to write, or we picked from what was available, and it was how to replace a ceiling vent, the fan vents up there, the remote control ones. So we had 2. I'd already done one. So when I did the second one, I was much more prepared to do it. I had some experience. And of course, I took pictures all along the way. So we had plenty available. And then they were able to pick from, 30 photos to go with it. So
nice. I sort of sidestepped on that one. I that's not relevant. But I do want to ask you that, Lucinda, having owned the travel agency, how much do you think owning a small business before sort of wrapping all of this into an entrepreneurial business, how much do you think that helped you?
I think that probably 100% it helped me. Just like in anything you do in life, once you go through it the first time, you learn a lot of good information, and it's transferable, of course. So if you want to start something slightly different, for me, there's been a thread through my entire life of writing. And so that thread was there, even though I went from a travel agency. I was still about educating people, writing small articles to try to educate people on the travel industry. And that translated into, to me, I'm still doing the same thing. I made do it to a different audience, but it's all about providing information and trying to help someone uh, feel the excitement about what they can do with their life. So
And that kind of ties into how we've set up, our books on Amazon. We made sure we take advantage of the Kindle Unlimited free feature. If you have a Kindle Unlimited account, the books that we have they're no charge. And if you want a print version of them, that's fine. There's almost no profit margin on it, right? We didn't even bother, just whatever the bare minimum is, so that Amazon will print the book and send it to you. Because we're more interested in the education and the exposure than we are trying to make money off books. I mean, we're not Stephen King.
RV Life Pro isn't just a service. It's an all-in-one solution designed to make your RV experience simpler and more enjoyable. From planning your trip with precision to maintaining your RV with ease, we've got you covered every step of the way. Don't just survive the RV lifestyle, thrive in it. Visit rvlife.com to discover more about how RV Life Pro can enhance your journey.
Will, I am so glad you said that, because I was curious, and I wanted to learn more about how you got into publishing those books for Amazon. And before I say anything else, yes, I did the latest one that you wrote, the entire amount that Amazon would allow you to sample. I read all of that. I loved it. It was great. Again, it was the same thing. If I had written, this is exactly what it would sound like. So awesome. I want to know more about, the steps that anyone could take and what you have taken and into publishing for Amazon, because I think it's, as you say, it's not necessarily a big moneymaker. It's a way to promote yourself, validate what you know, and get out there for speaking gigs and, some of the big, events that it might lead to.
Well, Lucinda won't toot her own horn as much as I will for her, but her first book it's not RV related, it's not motorcycle related, it's travel related, and it's the 60 ways to make your vacation last all year. And, she said, I have this idea, I'd like to put this book together. And I'm like, okay, well, it looks like, I did some research, you can publish on Amazon. I said, write the book. Let's, and every picture in there is a picture that she took probably from world travels. I mean, I went on a lot, but not everything. And so we had that experience, and that book, you say exposure, I think that book, in part with a lot of her other ideas, helped her get a travel agent award, a national one, that was kind of a big deal, pre-pandemic, of course. And so I think that started off some of the exposure. So when we got into the motorcycle stuff, we started thinking about, well, what kind of information can we make that's a little evergreen? And so we wrote a book on, visiting Sturgis. Then after that, we got to thinking, well, hey, we're in RV now. What information do we have? And we have a lot of information. We have thousands and thousands of pictures. And so it just seemed logical to go that route. All the technical things really are fighting with the formats, making sure the upload works right, waiting for it to be approved if you make a change because they want to make sure the book is legit.
Just like we did getting into an RV and having a checklist and all that kind of stuff is the same sort of thing that we did when we were going to publish it online. We started watching YouTube videos. How do you do this? Reading information from other people and trying to sidestep mistakes up front that we could. And it's been a learning process. Amazon, publishing on there is, not something you can do in the blink of an eye. It takes a few processes and run throughs and things.
But they do make it very approachable for the public at large to do so. They do in general compared to the old days.
That's true. So
for sure.
And we use Kindle Unlimited. We have a subscription for that because we are both voracious readers. And I don't pretty much ever go to bed at night without reading for an hour or two or three. So for us, it made sense to make sure our book was available on that platform as well. So we do both an electronic version and a print version, or ebook version and a print version.
Ebook. Okay. Yes. What's involved with the print version? Is it a lot different?
No, you have to submit it in a little bit of a different format. Actually, is
and you change your cover, and it's different margins. It's a different base template. You've got to look at your pagination and make sure that it came out like you wanted. Your document starts on page 1, but when it gets into a print book, it's page 1's page 2. So if you want things that are side by side, you have to flip everything around and not forget to undo it.
There's a little
before
bit
you
of
upload
tweaking.
it. Yeah, it can be painful, especially because we're perfectionists.
Oh, I completely, yes, I see the pain that could be involved. And yes.
But we enjoy it, and we enjoy educating, like you said.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's worth the juice is worth the squeeze, as they would say, when it comes to putting something up there on Amazon, and it's just exciting also to get it done and be able to showcase that as a checkbox in life. One of those things where, like, I always want to publish a book. Okay, I've done that. Now let's move on to the second or third. How many have you published so far?
I think we have four books. That's including the travel agency book that I did for my clients. And then we did a motorcycle book. Then we did an RVing with motorcycles book. And then this last one is straight up. It has an article in there about traveling with large toys, but it's straight up.
It's a culmination of 5 years of experience, right, of the ups and downs, the good and the bad. I mean,
and stories people have shared with us too. We're not always trying to just keep telling people our firsthand experiences. We like to share friends and people we've run into and listen to their stories. We like to include those here and there throughout our books.
We're not just teaching, we're also learning. So when we learn something, we pass that on.
Sure, you're conveying the message from the masses, absolutely. And someone else's story may be just as riveting. So yes, pass that along. As one goes along in business in a nomadic circumstance, which is exactly what you have done. Have there been lessons that you've picked up along the way of being both nomadic and entrepreneurs that you could share with the audience?
I would say one of the interesting aspects is environment. I mean, you never know where you're going to be or what you're going to get. You could be at a campground that is quiet all week long. And then the day that you have an interview or a talk or a podcast with someone is going to be the day that they decide they're going to come through with the lawnmower or something loud. And so if you're not talking with somebody that doesn't have an RV experience or background, that's something, you want to try to explain to them ahead of time. So we've learned to preempt those kinds of things by just being open and honest about what our lifestyle is and where we're at and what we're going to be doing during the interview process. And most people, I had mentioned something about just be honest with people. And I think more the word that I was looking for is just be transparent. Don't try to hide where you're at or what you're trying to do. This is your lifestyle. So just be transparent with people. Let them know your situation. And we have never, ever had anybody have a problem with us when issues have arisen.
Yeah, my boss, he knows I'm an RVer and he's based out of California, and he'll all right, Belden, what time zone are you in today? And, where are you? And I'll be like, okay, this. And by the way, the next 3 days we're traveling from here to here. So I'm not going to be available really during the day, unless you want to make a phone call, but I'm not going to be turning in any code work. I think people are flexible with it. And I think there's a real drive anyway for those that are, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess office workers, internet, remote type workers that can do this kind of job. More and more people want to do this. And I think people are supportive of it because secretly all in their hearts, everybody wants to do it too.
I think
how true is that?
Yes. I think one of the other really huge things that we learned, because we did a lot of research ahead of time, not that we came up with this on our own, but it was very critical and important that we realized from the beginning that we were not on constant vacation. And I think that's a big thing about running a business in your RV is that you need to plan a vacation time. You need to plan time away from your work to do something that's not work.
And not just go into town tonight and go to the movie and go to Walmart. We're talking about you need to think about, are you going to take a cruise, take a flight, go, see Alcatraz, whatever. We have so many opportunities as full-time RVers that travel around and aren't stationary, that we get to see all kinds of neat things that we might certainly have never otherwise seen. We might go see the world's largest ball of twine, but we would have never driven from our home in Dallas to go see it. But we're going that way. Hey, let's go see it. But those are part of the new lifestyle. They're not the vacations. You still need to think about getting away from work. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in what you have to do, and not just your daily job or your responsibilities, but also it's an RV. You're always got to fix something. So, you've got to get away from that too. So find a way to leave your RV, board your pets, and go on a vacation.
That is absolute gold. Everything you just stated. First off, Lucinda, the transparency. Rose and I owned our business for 20 years, and we found that the fact that if you are transparent, your clients will fall in love, and be open and honest. And then secondly, when we were full time, how many months did it take us to figure out that we're not on vacation and that we actually still have to produce something? So yes, those are extremely valid points. And lastly, yes, you're in an RV, it's going to break.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about you're not on vacation was something we read or saw in a video before we got started. I was like, that's a really interesting point, because so many people get in the RV and go, all right, we've got enough money. We can do this for 2 years, or 5 years, or we're going to see all the state parks and we're going to rush around. We didn't do that. We just said, this is a different house that we're paying rent for, or paying a mortgage note on. And we still need to think about our money, and we're not setting an end goal. So we can't just spend it till it's gone. That's not our thing. To me, I think having that information was probably the best piece of advice that we got or saw.
It was definitely a good piece of advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you clearly followed through and actually listened to the advice. So
there's another way too that we really cut our expenses, I think, and maintain that not in vacation mode, is we don't travel quickly. We may, take 2 or 3 days to get from one location to another, but we stay generally for a month in a campground.
Generally, yeah.
I mean, we're here for a month. We're going to be heading south to Branson. We'll be there for a month.
That gives us time to work, to play, ride the motorcycle.
The flexibility. It's raining. Let's work. And instead of taking the bikes. Yeah.
I think that should stand out. That's so important for anyone who is running a business and nomadic, that staying in one place for a month gives you the time to settle in. It gives you the time to do the things you want to enjoy and explore, but it also gives you the time to, most importantly, get your work done.
Right. We enjoy the beautiful new view outside our window. That's one of the goals. But then it will change fast enough. But that gives us time to do everything we need to get done without feeling stressed and pressured and rushed. So,
for sure. Another point I want to bring up is, when one is running a business, sometimes they make decisions and realize partway through that decision that what they're working on doesn't jive with them. It's not producing the ROI they want to see. Do you guys have any examples that you want to share that sort of where you pivoted away from something and made a smart decision?
We did. We took on doing a radio station. Will had a radio background, and of course I'm a scheduler and a planner, and so we put those two skills together. And again, we weren't going in a direction that wasn't applicable to everything that we were doing. So we started My RV Radio, and the thing is that our part of what we want to do is to provide, like we've said many times, education. We wanted to get people involved with the lifestyle and help them understand that. But we also thought it would be fun to have, music that was related to travel and things like that.
We also like to entertain. We love to host parties. Right. And events.
So it seemed in line with everything that we wanted to do. And then we got into the process and just having the content we wanted to have at the level that we wanted to have it. We could not do our regular jobs and do the radio stuff. We just spread ourselves too thin. We
ran it for 2 years.
We did it for 2 years, but then we're like, you know what? This would be better a project for somebody that has more resources, more people,
doesn't have other responsibilities,
right?
Like job.
To run this project. So we made a decision together. It was hard that we just can't do this. This is stretching us beyond our our capabilities. I think that's another important part of business, whether you're running it in your RV or not, is to admit when you're in over your head and you need to show the attention to the things that you know that are working and that are great, and that are helping you express how you want to express things. But when it's something that's too big for you, you've got to be able to say that and move on.
You summarized that perfectly. I admire that decision. And for some, that's a very difficult decision to make, to let something go that you've put so much time into. And when you realize that it's not what's pushing the needle forward as far as financial gain and time gain, sometimes you have to let it go for business. So I'm glad you said that.
That's
Brilliant.
really interesting too, because that's how she felt about her travel agency. I was the one
Really?
that wanted to hang on to it, but she was ready to let go of it. And I'm like, but we've put 15 years into this. Of course, me, it's mostly technical. She's the business person. And she was ready to move on. And I'm like, are you sure? I don't know if I want to. So it was tricky for me. And it's not even my business.
Wow. No, I completely understand. So moving away from that, I read that at some points you run your business from Mexico and you travel to Mexico for periods of time. Am I mistaken, or do you do that?
We did go to Mexico and we did run the business from there. We only stayed a month while we were there, so we followed the same pattern that we follow when we're in the United States. And I would say that that's probably a key thing that would help somebody if they're considering doing that. There's a process you have to go through to know what insurance you need to have to go into Mexico,
Visas.
visas, and those different kinds of things. It's not as complicated as people think. Usually, you can get everything taken care of in 2 or 3 days. It's just a matter of figuring out what it is that you need to take care of when you go there.
And if you're working remotely in Mexico, you want Starlink. It's just that simple.
Yeah, definitely for connectivity. So, but it's possible. It's not overly complicated. But I do have to admit, I know that that's coming from somebody who loves to research, who does the planning and those kinds of things. So to me, it's easy. But I think that any person who's not experienced with it, that's not into planning, they can probably get it, that kind of thing set up within a week. But as far as running your business when you're there, again, it's about the transparency. Let your clients know that you're going to be in another country. If there's going to be any time change issues, and if you might have connectivity issues while you're there.
Potentially power issues. Oh, sorry, power's out today.
Yep. That can happen too. So
How common is that in Mexico when you're traveling? Well, first of all, where in Mexico were you for the month?
we went to Puerto Penasco, which is
It's in the state of Sonora. It's just south of Y, Arizona, or Oregon Pipe. It's through that. You remember a while back when they closed one of the border crossings? It was that border crossing, and they opened it in 2 days. They opened it 2 days before we were going through, and I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yes, because see, that would have been another business issue you would have had to deal with. Is okay, now we're not going to be in Mexico at that time, and we're going to have to travel and find a way around if we can't get through. And yeah, you just have to. I guess that's another thing that we learned is, you have. It's different when you're traveling an RV full time because you're in the RV, and for us, we have motorcycles, which is an extra issue, and you're working from your rig. If one thing goes wrong in one of those areas, it affects all of the areas, because if you have a problem with your rig, then you can't go somewhere. You can't focus on your business work and everything. So it's very important to, when you run into an issue, take a step back, take a deep breath, and realize that it is going to affect all of the areas. And then you just relax and you plot your course on how you're going to get through it, because that's going to happen over and over and over again. when you travel in this kind of lifestyle. So
Yeah, the first couple times, everybody's gonna have a blowout. We've had one or two. A slide doesn't want to go in this morning when it's time to leave. All those things. And the first couple times, when something would happen, I would kind of freak out about it. But now I'm like, oh, I guess I'd better go find a spare tire. I'm just like, I'm not gonna stress out about it, because we didn't get into this to stress out about things. And I wouldn't stress out if the pool pump at home didn't work or a branch fell in the yard. So why would I do it in the RV? As long as you can get off the road and be safe, that's the only thing to worry about.
Just focus on one thing at a time, because it can be compounded, with all the different moving parts. Unlike being in a stationary home, it does feel like everything's hitting you at once.
It feels more sudden somehow.
Yeah. So
it does. I'm glad you pointed that out, because it's valid advice for anyone in life as far as I'm concerned. You're going to have those days in the RV when you're running your business. You just got a letter from the Department of Justice. They're going to be litigating, and all of a sudden your wheel fell off your trailer, and it all just cascades. And you can either freak out, or you can step back, like you said, Lucinda, and just take a breath and settle one thing at a time. So brilliant. Is there anything else that you guys would like to cover for our audience as far as entrepreneurial, writing for blogs, publishing, hosting events for escapees and motorcycle, events?
That's been something we really enjoyed, is doing the, we hosted an event for escapees, and then we talked about always seeing a motorcycle, and we said, hey, let's host one that's motorcycle ran. So we did that in Nashville. And I think really the trick is if you find something that seems somewhat interesting to you, go ahead and dig a little deeper and pursue the possibility of it. One thing I had actually considered when we got in the rig was running poker games as we ran around, Texas Hold'em games. I didn't end up doing it.
But it is something we love to do.
But it's something we love to do. And we redone the garage at the house and put some poker tables in, and hosted the games for the guys, once a month. And I thought I'll miss that when we're on the road. And there's an opportunity there, but I haven't really pursued it, because, I'm working and I'm looking at balls of twine.
I think it's really important. I think it's about figuring out what your passion is and trying to stick as close to that as possible. Of course, we all have to make money. We all have the day-to-day responsibilities, but if you can zone in on your passion, that's going to carry you through a lot of things. I mean, even when we shifted into this and I wasn't doing the travel stuff like I had planned to do, I fell back on my passion, which was writing. And I took the time to I wrote articles for which I wasn't paid, but I knew that to get started, people needed to see how I wrote, see if I had anything worth saying. And so that's how I started out. And I think that's what we all need to do, is follow our passion and be willing to put ourselves out there and see what kind of feedback we get. And even if some of it's negative, keep powering through if that's something that you believe in and you believe in yourself enough to do it. So
that's very, very true. Put yourself out there. And I like what you said about, you did some articles without accepting pay for them. There's a great way to sort of improve your own self-confidence and, make sure that what you're producing is liked by others before you demand a paycheck from that.
You get free feedback from the editors.
But don't make it a habit, because they'll take
no
all over you.
Yeah, you need to become assertive and confident and know what you're worth and what your rate should be, and go for that eventually. But to get your foot in the door, there's lots of different ways that you can put yourself out there. So. Being
an entrepreneur always involves risk. And I don't think that being in an RV makes it any more or less risky overall, as long as you have that flexibility and the transparency, good internet, and people that you're working with, whether they be clients or coworkers or bosses or contract bosses. that they understand and are flexible with your scenario. If someone says, I need you on the phone 8 to 5 doing support calls, that may not be the thing you want to do. It may be, it may not be. It would not be for me. It would be no flexibility, and I wouldn't like that. I might as well just stay in Dallas.
Well, and they have to be supportive.
Yeah. So that's the only piece of advice I can think of.
That's great advice. So I'm going to make sure that I put links to, your media page and the Amazon books and the description of this. But I do want to throw out there that it has been such an honor to speak with you guys and, just rap about motorcycles and RVs and entrepreneurship. And I love everything that you guys have presented, and I couldn't summarize it better myself. So thank you both.
Thank you. We really had a good time.
What a great entrepreneurial mindset they both have. My favorite insights they shared were about being transparent with their clientele and being ready and able to pivot away from something that's not moving the needle forward. Now, that's great advice for any entrepreneur. You can learn more about Will and Lucinda on their website at dwo.net. You can find their books on Amazon. The links are in the show notes. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and I wish you well.
This episode is made possible by Travelify. Want reliable internet without the hassle? Meet Travelify. It's portable, high-speed Wi-Fi that's ready to go wherever you are. From road trips to remote cabins. No tricky setup or permanent location required. Just plug in and you're connected. And here's the best part. No contracts, no commitments, and no reactivation fees. Pay only for the months you need. Travelify connects to the strongest available signal among multiple major networks, so you stay online with confidence, backed by a US-based support team that knows the outdoor lifestyle. Travelify, simplifying internet while you travel. Visit travelify.com today. That's TRAVLFI.com. Listeners can save 15% with code RVE at checkout.